Hey, what's good, everybody? I wanted to make this video about the hawk as a spirit animal. The hawk is a very special spirit animal to me. It's actually more of a totem, but I wanted to make this video about what it means or what it might mean when you're seeing the hawk. Obviously, the best thing to do is to ask at that moment, or ask yourself what exactly you're thinking or what you're going through at the moment that you see it, and that'll help you get the meaning at that particular time, because every time you see it, it might mean something different. And that goes for any spirit animal, right? Every time you see it, like, the reason I'm making this video is because I had just seen the caterpillar, right? And then after I went to the mountains, and the hawk just kept appearing the whole way to the mountains, right? So on that occasion, it had a very specific meaning for me, not only because of the context, but because I had just seen the caterpillar as well. So I guess, yeah, in a sense, like the context in which I saw it, and then after, the circumstances, all that, right? So it gave it a different meaning in that occasion, right? But so, okay, so I'll start off with the spiritual aspects of seeing the hawk, right? Or what it could mean, right? Obviously, it's like the creator himself or itself, however you want to put it, like showing you, like, hey, I'm here, I'm protecting you, I got you. You don't have nothing to worry about, or you could think of it like angels, your ancestors, a loved one. But it's someone letting you know, first of all, that they're there, right? It's making its presence known, the spirit world. Hey, we're here, we're watching over you. If you're lost, you don't know which way you're going, you're like, man, what am I doing? Or like, which way am I going? Boom, the hawk appears, right? Like, that's happened to me in life, where I was just like, I'll just get up in my car and go, right? Like, my friend, I remember, would call me sometimes, and he'll be like, hey, where are you? And I'm like, man, I'm like 2-3 hours away. And he made a joke, like, man, the gas companies must love you, because I would drive around. This was like my early 20s, right? Like, I was just always trying to search, like, for something. I just didn't know what. But I'd see a hawk as I would go, and I'll be like, man, why did I just drive 2-3 hours? And I'll look up, or I'll pick a random exit. I'm getting off here, and boom, there's a hawk posted right there, like, letting me know, like, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, right? Which is another thing, like, right, that day that I was going to the mountains and I was seeing the hawk, I was seeing 777 with it as well, which means, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're on the right path, right track. It's like you're being divinely guided in a way, right? So so don't beat yourself up, because sometimes it would be like that, like, why the hell did I just waste all this gas, or why this or that, and boom, and then something will come out of it. There would always be a lesson, right? Like, something would be attributed to that journey that I had just made, and it'd be like, oh wow, so the hawk in that way is like, when you're lost, you don't know which way you're going, and the hawk is appearing. It's letting you know that you're not just wasting, like, you're not just wasting your time or this and that, right? Like, you did something for a reason, you just can't see it yet. And the hawk, for those that don't know, right, like, people call the eagle the king of the birds, but the hawk has the best vision of any bird. I mean, I'm not sure of every animal, but it has the best vision of every bird, right? So it can see it has a high perspective. It could see the whole vision, right? It's also, that's why, like, when you're in the hawk energy, it has to do with being a visionary, right? It's a great spirit animal for someone that has a vision, that's a visionary, that's starting something new, that's jumping into a leadership role, or it already means you're kind of like, I mean, if you've had it since birth, then it's like a natural born leader, right? Or you're stepping into a leadership role, right? When the hawk is there. So, it sees through the veil. So it's almost like a multi-dimensional being, right? The hawk. It's an air animal, obviously. It's a winged relative. It's a solar you know creature. It has to do with the sun, right? It can see into the sun directly, right? Like, to a lot of indigenous tribes, like that, there's a lot of reverence for the hawk, because it even stares into the sun, right? um Obviously, if we stare into the sun, like, we'll be blinking, or it takes a while to adjust. Like, you can do it, but obviously sometimes it hurts your eyes and this and that, right? So, It has that solar energy, the air energy. It can see, past the veil. So, when you're stuck and you're like, I don't know which direction to go and blah, blah, like the hawk already saw the whole picture, right? So it can remind you to like as humans, we only see so many feet in front of us and we're like, this and that. So let's say, for example, you're losing your mind about bills and this and that. And the hawk energy would be like, hey, plan, strategize. Like, that if you pay this much every month for a year, boom, you'll be out of debt. So it's like, rather than being in that energy of frustration and, I can't, and this and that, the hawk doesn't deal with that. The hawk is confident. If, like, that day that I ran into the hawk, it was the most beautiful thing because it was in the mountains and it was perched on this rock and it was just overlooking the terrain. And there was this whole field, right, with trees, and the lake is way over there, and it's just like it's domain, right? It's not like a vulture, right? Like the hawk, I love the vulture spiritually. It has a lot of good meanings, right? It's a very special animal to me as well, the vulture. But the hawk, you know, the vulture basically, it waits around to see when someone else does a kill, and then so see, you could think of the vulture as smart in that way, like where it conserves its energy, right? It looks, waits for someone else to do a kill, and then it'll go, and eat the carcass, right? Obviously, in the human world, that's negative, right? Like, we think of someone, when we call them a vulture, it's like someone that's trying to get over on you without doing any work. And so, it's a vulture, someone that just steals off what you did or your hard work. So it has that negative trait in the human world, and the hawk isn't like that. It has all the confidence in the world. It's not looking to see, I wonder if I could get food. It's it's more like, what am I gonna eat, right? And it knows once it goes in for the kill, it's not, so it conserves the energy just like the vulture, but it's actually gonna hunt. It's an apex, like, predator, right? Like, it's gonna hunt, it's gonna kill. It knows what it's doing. It has direction. It has confidence, strategic. It's not gonna waste. I think I already said that about that, right? But not wasting energy, right? So it knows. It knows. It plans, right? So you could think of it like that. When you're calling the hawk to guide you, you might be in a position where you feel frustrated. You don't know which direction to go, and there's nothing like the hawk, right? For that. Also, it has a lot to do with healing, right? Like, I've met medicine men that have hawk feathers and don't even pray or use their medicine with the eagle feathers. They have hawk feathers. So the hawk is a very spiritual, creature in that sense, that brings healing, even, right? Like, even that, when you could feel like you're going through a battle, like, I've had that happen where I'm feeling something and then I'll go outside and there's all these crows attacking a hawk, and I'm like, whoa, like, it even makes me feel bad about it, right? Like, I'll see that, and then I'm like, wow, that's what I'm going through. I could feel that. And then, later on, I'll see like three hawks and no crow will even come near it, right? Because it's like backup was on its way. It's like, it's letting you know, it's maybe so you could visualize it, so you could see, like, yeah, there's this little spiritual battle going on, but we got your back. And then once those reinforcements come in and there's three hawks, there's no crow's gonna even get near those three hawks, right? And they hunt together, right? So it's like a family thing, right? The hawk has that, that tribal thing as well, right? Not every creature hunts by, like, hunts in groups, but the hawk will, right? Like, a lot of animals will hunt by themselves, but the hawk isn't one of them. So, there's those meanings as well too. It's okay to work, like, the teamwork, even though it is a leader in its sense. I mean, you could always work with other leaders, right? So there's nothing wrong with that, with collaborating and being diplomatic in that sense, right? Like, some people will say the hawk has a negative trait, and I don't feel that it's a negative trait. But the hawk is a very piercing animal, right? Like as humans, we could choose to be more tactful, but it's just on instinct, right? The hawk isn't worried about coddling you, or you're not hurting your feelings, and, I need to talk to you like a poor little baby, this and that. No, it's to the point. It's like, almost like the Marines, the saying, mission accomplishment before troop warfare. I think that's exactly how you say it. Mission accomplishment before troop warfare. And it doesn't necessarily mean like, the troops don't matter. It's just that when there's a mission, it's like you already know what you signed up for. As a group, we have to accomplish this mission, right? If someone's hungry or tired or, like, you're not gonna stop and talk to them like, hey, can you please do this? No, it's like, hey, boom, move in, do this, do that. Like, there's no time to baby people, right? Like, you have to complete a mission, right? So sometimes when you're in that hawk energy, you can talk very bluntly, right? Um, you can talk very bluntly, and people can get their feelings hurt. It has the sharp beak, sharp talons. So you could choose as a human to be tactful, but the way it does things is just like that, and people might think it's a negative trait, but it's just trying to get the thing done, right? Like, it's just moving in for the kill, basically. Like, hey, we got to do this, boom, boom, boom. But it's not doing it in a negative way. That's why I don't like when people say it's a negative trait of the hawk. Because even as humans, sometimes if we do that, it's not to hurt someone's feelings, right? It's just some people can be oversensitive, and then that's when you could choose to use the tact, right? But see, like in a military setting, you wouldn't waste your time, like, unless someone was really like, I mean, I don't know how you would do it. Either you even would be more forceful, like, hey, if you don't do this, I'm gonna whoop your beep. But obviously, in regular people life, it's not like that, right? But the hawk has that. So, like I said, to me, it's not a negative trait. It's just we need to get the job done, right? We have a task. Why are you procrastinating? Why are you it could be a reminder for you to step in that, right? Like, one of my favorite people I listen to sometimes is like David Goggins, right? I think I haven't listened to him in a long time because he's already in my head, right? Like, I already hear his thing. Like, he'll say this thing about poopy pants. Like, he'll say, yeah, I woke up, I had my little poopy pants, but then I got over it. He knows what he needs to do, right? So it's kind of like that. The hawk will remind you when you're in your little poopy pants mode, like, to shake that off, and hey, let me complete this mission, and get out of that. So, like I said, you could choose to be more tactful. Like the Gemini, for example, right? I'm a Gemini, so I have a lot of, like, just natural connection with not only birds but the hawk in general, right? Because it's a solar, animal, just like, me being a Gemini. The in the tarot, like, the Gemini is the swords, right? Because that our tongue could cut, right? We have to learn to sometimes, if I guess, make us upset, we will tear into you. It's like, even the hawk, when you hear the screech sound, right? That's done on purpose to scare. Like, the animals will run. Oh, when they hear it, they're like terrified, right? Like, it puts terror into their veins, and they start running, and then boom, the hawk spots them, and bam. See, so that's even strategic, right? So it has all that. So I relate to that, where like, obviously, in the human thing is not different. We don't use it to terrorize people, but we can, like, chop things to bits, with that sword, right? The tongue, if provoked, right? So that's something you have to learn to be tactful with, working, like, in the human world and all that. So let me see. I don't want to veer off too much. So, it's obviously patience, right? Patience, but because it has all the confidence that it knows what, it knows once it goes in for the kill, it's gonna be successful. So, it has that higher perspective. It has, the leadership. What else? What else? I think that's it, right? Intuition. You're definitely tapped into the divine when the hawk is around. You're being protected. The teamwork, right? It has no problem hunting with other hawks, and they're all apex predators, apex creatures, um, leaders, and it can still work in that way. It can still be diplomatic if it needs to be, right? So, I'll just share one story and then I'll close it. You know, um, a long time ago, I had gone to my first Mexica spring ceremony, right? It was kind of similar to a native powwow, but this was a Mexica spring ceremony. It was also a 2-day event, I believe. And, I've gone to one where that was private, but this one was, like, I guess, for the people as well. It was like at a big park, and they even had vendors around, just like the native powwow. And so I went there because someone invited me. This Mexica dancer, what you call Aztec dancers. He invited me, so I went. I got there, like, on the last day of it. a few hours before it ended. But I was going around talking to the vendors. I was asking certain questions, and then they pointed me in the direction like, oh, this guy would know. So I went and I found this guy, right? And we're talking, and then after, he just looks at me and he's all, I wasn't gonna come today, but now I know that the reason I came was to meet you. And then I was like, oh wow. And then, he gets his headdress and he's all, no one does this, no one does this, and he takes out this hawk feather from his headdress, and that's a sacred thing. So he was letting me know that that's not a normal thing. Like, you don't just take a feather out of your headdress. And he's all, I'm gonna give this to you, but know that when I give this to you, and by accepting it, it's like you're gonna owe something, not to him, but like to humanity in general. And I was already on that walk, but it kind of like that was an initiation into something else, right? Like, that was the first actual feather I got, and it was this hawk feather from a medicine man, right? And so from that point on, actually, that's when I got really, from that moment on, I got involved more with the native community, and that changed my life, obviously, right? So it was like an initiation into something else, right? So the hawk feather, and then I still have that feather. I pray with it and everything, right? But that was the beginning of something else. So, the hawk could be a beginning of a spiritual journey for you as well. So just pay attention to the signs. Hopefully I didn't leave nothing out. I've tried to make this video actually a few times, and I just wanted to make it right? Because it's such a sacred animal to me. Like I said, it's more of a totem. I'm going to leave it at that. I'll make other podcast videos soon. I'll make more spirit animal videos. If you have any suggestions, leave a comment, because I make videos about animals that I've interacted with, right? Animal relatives that I've interacted with. They come to me in dreams, visions, that's another reason, right? Like, I have a strong connection with the hawk because, I have the prophetic dreams, premonitions, all this and that. So, it has that connection to the spirit world. And like I said, it's a multi-dimensional being and all that. So, hope you enjoyed. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And I'll see you soon. All right, peace. That's right. Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. And I want to feel this way forever.